Welcome to a seat at the table. Many a times as black South Africans, we are spectators as far as the economy is concerned. We're always sitting in the sidelines. We're economic bridesmaids. And I think each and every one of us are tired. Like utlhoka nyugu ya electricity, ya metsi, ya data, ya upalama, tshwantse o kadime, tšhelete, kolote. It's tiresome. It's tiresome. Some people are blacklisted, cannot access credit. Some cannot even get maybe it's a trade finance to grow their businesses. Like utswere, either it's a tender, a contract, they will deliver something. You can't because of before you deliver, you need to access money. So today, it's the first of many episodes we're going to have of the seat at the table. And the program seeks to find solutions, practical solutions that at the end of the program, you can go out there and implement whatever you would have picked, learned, or discovered from our discussions. Today, my guest is Sibusiso Hlabangani from Soweto. And you've seen him on TikTok speaking about a lot of things, especially being voraciously critical of crime and how Kodikasi, we seem to celebrate crime. And maybe let's understand the psychology behind that. Majobela 4-4. Why is it that how kabua kabo majobela? It's a big thing. Ya Kokasi you feel maga 325I. Life feel like it's a big thing. And ibuyisana le majita riding. And la ka bona ba entse heist batho ba tlala ba etse di video and it looks nice. At what point do we then say, hold on, this is wrong? Because someone was saying that being streetwise and ulopanda ko strating it's better than going to school. And there's this debate we've seen even on TikTok. People, there are those that are for pure education. There are those that are against saying, hey, hulopanda. And we've seen in the Madlanga Commission and then there are those that sticks to stay in the on the line to say you need education and you need the street. Fuse them together and ensure that you make money and be sustainable. So let me welcome Sibusiso. Thank you for your time, Fede. Sure. No, thank you for your time. I've followed you. Well, I've followed you on TikTok, listening to a lot of submissions that you made about crime, and especially the recent one, it's a Pimville Nakoba Shaile heist. But maybe let's start here. Who's Sibusiso Hlabangani?
As you know, my brother, Kasi, born and bred collocation in Soweto, you know. I know the best of both worlds. My parents are from Deep Kasi, White City, Jablan. And then Nakulet go Pimville, go bonding, go sputring. Went to the Kelantabungamla, go, you know, these former Model C schools, prior to that, private schooling. So I literally know Kasi from both sides of the fence. The better part, our born privileged go there in go Pimville, le holela kara kuma krezene kari weekends and good many of my childhood days spent one palo ko ma Chablani ko Toronko puma bitling holala majita kara Kasi bo makhulakanzi ma sure ba di forum ngabana Kasi santsane le Kasi so be le di improvement tse tsa di include mabota ko ma keisheneng ko bo Jablani ko bo White City so be le di double story tse so di bona da santsane le raw Kasi santsane hole thata ke tseba di tear gas tsa maburu back in the days santsane ele post 76 and obviously so school explain it or nna ke le ga ba le lucky or time al khono palhla ko Pimville so time an le businessman and a businessman so way to a prominent so ka khona wa bona ntho tse paya man ka ba le level ya exposure e leng gore ilang fa advantage to be able to see a world view ya Kasi, you know, from the angles kaofela tse leng gore batho a se bat kaofela ba khona go e bona understand bro. So hence bona re ke le opinionated so because you can't tell me calculation from angle e leng gore tlang confuse because ke ditse ba kaofela because I've lived them.
But someone would say, maybe let's talk about this. Someone would say, and in ntwana tse bhaya, this is something that why is it that it seems like ntwana tse bhaya tse tswang from seemingly privileged homes ba vaya ba lo spina? Is it to baskele me kapo is it really about batla nyugu kapo batla fame batla recognition, like hona ntho bang self confidence? Do you trust yourself that much that you know batswadi ba it's everything fit ba isa dikela tse grand ba itseng ebe motho a vaya ga ena batla ya choose? Why would that happen? Is it peer pressure? Maybe o kan guide what goes into the psyche of bloma go ka se motho a decide go it's king antsa le privileged bo makhula kanzima ka o bolela in fact I got nothing. I'm between a space of a hot rock and a wall, and for me gore ke tswe mo tshwantse ko spina. So ba bona ba leng privileged, why would they do that?
Okay, so there are different aspects to that. Hona le ya hore o pole hore ma time a leng aba privileged back then, or a kgonne go hodisa dingwe tsa bona ka level e itseng ya privilege, bona qala had to be ukuthi ba hambe phansi ba be ama mafia or have some kind of mafia connections, whether it's money laundering, but clever na ba hlatswa dinyugo tsa bona ka ditšhelete tsa di businessmen tse legit, so they would have some kind of mafia affiliation. So nakong e bhaya, and even when times get difficult, if you are a black businessman back in those days, they were prone to cutting corners my time around. Now, through the affiliations, mafia, and we would be exposed to that. We'd see that. Rabatseba bo prasmang mamba in the pages my time around, Mahrutmane, Waban. So we grew up closely. Like I, for instance, grew up closely to Mahrutman Anna. So I got to understand how they live, or ke machita a sharp, ke machita a parang grande, ke machita a na le dimedi tse ntswembo a vang ka dikara tse grande, a hlala madlalang a ntswembo, and they are very very particular in how they choose to live, their standard of living, from how they dress, what they eat, what they drink. So daring eo Mahrutman a nathola a lot of respect ko Kasi ntse le di businessmen ntse le ma mafia jwalo wa bona. So mafia was into the business was very closely associated with mafia. So le re hola ka di re tsama di gela tsa dingapa tsa sengabla, but re tseba originally nyogo ya ko jareteng ina le strata.
Sure.
Now that we se really Spanish albitso strata, meaning matime rona are not fixed on education or doing things legitimately. There's the street element, a lot of streetwiseness what we had to employ and to learn. Understand? And then by virtue of there would be also that wanting to prove your manhood, because back in the days, how le auto holela Kasi, you didn't want to be called a sissy. You had to machita yang holelang ko di rural areas, when they get to a certain age, teenagehood, they have to prove their manhood. They have to go to
Entabeni, okay.
initiation schools,
Sure.
and so forth. Initiation ya rona ya ko Kasi go improve bonna ba hao, mele uqala ujole ube nethikini, mele uqoke grand, mele uspine kwamanye amakasi yabona, especially ko deep gas tshwanetse uspine, tshwanetse o bontshe gore a o tshabe jozi, and a jozi e ba le direng eo haholo ya nthwena ya gore e be a way of proving bonna ba hao, senna sa hao, because post ka nako tsa apartheid Mahrutman a rona na spina e le gore it's a sort of mandated. It's mandated hore ha le ntwana le teenager tsa maburo ne di a bosoleng ka 16 divide lo trainer ko military tsa rona tsa ikasi Mahrutman a rona ma ankela rona na ya jozi. Ha o qala o fitla 16 tshwantse lo hlokomeza dingamla, tshwantse le spina from the white, like a Robin Hood type of thing, spina from dingamla o tlo gutla Kasi, o tlo lukisa ko yena, o tlo roska lapua ko jareteng, and to disrupt the system. That's why na machita na sa spinele primarily hore self enrich. It was partly part of it, but more than any other thing, what dingamla discover comfortable, discover pilamnat ma autiwa mandated to terrorize
The system.
to terrorize the system. That's why the kara na ba di spina ba di twebola ntho ya kosheshe o buileng ka yona earlier on, ya spinal kosheshe Kasi o spino e twebole a o qeta o chase ka yona, or neng later on set it alight one tall. that was part of the rebellion against the system of apartheid.
But like my question asked, hore, why is it that batho ba baya kapo mauthi a baya na tswa for di-family tse, he had no reason. I mean, ko ga bona ba na le borotho a se bo makhola ke nzima, then why a choose? Because ga bona di teng ntho tseo. And it still happens even today. Why do they do that?
It's like I believe strongly that crime is not always because of poverty. But poverty does have a percentage add out to it. Where people are really destitute and have nothing. I'll give you an example. Kia matswakantle a baya momokasi. A fitlile a span. You know, they're earning. I would argue that a good many of say Zimbabweans, for instance, are working and not stealing, and then there's a good percentage that are stealing, but a good many of them can work. So that's why I always kind of like as I speak against crime, or crime should be a last alternative. In fact, for a South African, now we're even more privileged because we have home ground advantage. For now, Spina should be the absolute last resort, because if a guy from Zimbabwe can survive, run a small business, we just need to apply ourselves. So to answer your question, or why Bochi's boy by remember, as I said to you, there's a urban legend elongore was formed kana kotsele tsa yona apartheid, where machitana spina, they would come back to Kasi, they would be applauded by bonkgono bomme. They were not, they never sa tshwariswi, and it was not frowned upon. No tsi bua re ke spina, and it was a part of disrupting the system of white people. So that was never called off. That whole thing was never spoken, or okay, now it's 94, black people are coming to power now, tools down, just no more Jews. Understand? It was never stopped. It continued to perpetuate and machita as pinang get recognition from the chair to the women, as you can see, Komatlanga Commission, or Batama Bobomba Oti Atama Lady Medite Juan. Afrastan, if you shaba machita, Shango Commission, and the high profile cases, all of those guys have got hot women coming from Batwang Kodikasi Banabate. In fact, Batwang from all walks of life, Banabating, because machita alekidi short collars, Wabanakidi ballers, Kima Ota Baring Makutumela, the CEO Strata.
Sure.
So women don't frown upon dating outite spina. That's why even if you can go to body tronkong, outite spina fit to the tola pesu.
Hey, mfethu.
They are well looked
Ko
after.
santse to kila bona le family day.
Badi batle bochere ha ba le desperate ba batla dipare. Ba lo icoma from scratch tanyana. But it's a show by Hirela the advocate. So there's that thing out outi espina nke outi pandang. And inaling brave. So there's that element of protection from the medi. Or can protect. No one will mess with me. Akichola like das mang. And lima out ya paske lem sorry ele brave. Harva le mang renali protection. Understand? And there's an association lip clever Kasi elongore, it puts you at a certain pedestal where you're uploaded as a hero of sort. So it's more like, that's why if you can show my outer spina are not shy to show that spin. If my outer spina, it was all about really putting food on the table, and it had nothing to do with fame and glory that comes with it, we wouldn't know what spin.
But genuine entrepreneurs that are in the business,
Excuse me.
in terms of ensuring that it's about money, getting a seat at the table, they don't show. I mean, I'll tell you, there's a lot of uncelebrated entrepreneurs bakokasi, like Ntate Godfrey El Muloi. Ntate Godfrey El Muloi mfethu, like wabona o bua ka di out tsa kokasi, bontate Tsietsi Malakwana. You know, outile, so how look ko Mapetla, opposite Mapetla tsona, na le building engwe, it was never completed. Una thing, long time ko 1986. That guy was thinking shopping mall. 1986 was thinking shopping mall, that guy. And those are, and an analyst and a true hotel. So I got to learn that there were entrepreneurs trying to find expression and a seat at the table. And how psychology works. Why, the question I was asking, why does it seem but once what to expression through crime? So if you study history of South Africa, long before colonization and slavery, black people were running their own economy. I'll come to Tabaso Firetown because I just want to ask you before Flako Soweto, ya crime and stuff it's okay. And I think one of the white politicians once said that, and in fact, Tim Modise, when he was still SAPC, someone called Motsa about it, and Tim Modise crushed it. About, no, let's not go there. Minister, how did you criminalize black people? So long before colonization and slavery, black people owned the economy. And by the way, I don't know if you read about Mapungubwe,
Yeah.
but Bapovenda Mfana, they were. So if you think mining it like Amangamla in South Africa, you're wrong. I'll say even to someone who's currently watching the program at home, wherever you are, this thing here, economy, was never brought by Mangam. Mangamla hijacked. Like Jan van Riebeeck na crosser, aya to the east. Afitla etsa ebe water station, like Kama station, yimo South Africa. Hey, athola kindawo grand, baqhwaga. Le Majuda, if you want to know what I'm saying, Majuda tlile mo South Africa, atswa from Lithuania. Atse ibore, hey, unale ndawo emnati. Go to the Jewish Museum in Cape Town, you'll find this a fact. Bawuchayela libona. But all hey, yakhipha Cape Town arenda. Bazwakala yi. But there was a thriving economy. How about like about Mapungubwe, the Khoisans? Do you know Kempsbane, Outshuna Research? It was owned by a black woman. It was a farm owned by a black woman. And it's not sad. That's why what's said about accumulation of wealth is that Rekabua Kamanga or Basia generational wealth or next. It's not true. Obona, something that we need to talk about why black people and why I have you, it's that economic dispossession. We're not talking about it. Economic dispossession. And it's important if you're watching this podcast, ask yourself, go and research on your own to say, what is economic dispossession? Ask yourself, what is economic? Like you own the economy and it's dispossessed. The JSE currently is running something. I might be elaborative on this, but it's important. The JSE is running, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is running a program whereby Barry come and claim in terms of if we invest in we change a phone or ID. There's billions that are there. So I've always fought through the Black Entrepreneurs Alliance to say, you know how the system works, and I'm aware that I'm being elaborative on this one to say how you blacklisted Mangamla Batla Nyugabon, they'll find you. Jonaka Osama bin Laden under a rock, they'll find you. But if Tatum Holon, the trust funds among Gamla, but it's on that, but no, we can't find this. By court, by file, and that perpetuates poverty and criminalizing us. So, ka history, when Mangamla came here, they were dealing in diamonds, and what were miners. By the way, Koko Limpopo, Mavenda na miner iron ore. They were ironsmiths and goldsmiths. Koko Kiani, they were mining. Like Koko Kiano studied geology. Those people were selling golds to Dubai and stuff, like China. People were thriving. That history is not documented. But Obala Bukaya, Pagamisa Mzimela, King, is it African Merchants? Something like that book. Yeah, Pagamisa Mzimela. You find history, Botaki have always been doing well. And so, Hanakwe, Koko, Western Cape, after Bafit, Batola Botaki, Batrive, Bavaya Balata, Emeya Daba, and Mfetam Lao, or criminalizing Botaki, because we can't be seen real mangam, lore, really subject Sabotaki, and Botaki Manali Nugu Fitarun. Then Babang Bakala, Planta the diamond, Timo Botaki, Habao Raider, Batola, yeah, all blade, so did any criminalization of Botaki? It's Galara. Whereby but Bob Planta, Barumela Mapudisa Atla, I told him to buy Chilong, Besmariaki, how Wapiha, Barmari Totsmoen. And it perpetuated and it perpetuated and perpetuated until Botaki were seen and untrusted to say they are black people, they are criminals. What you see, it's a psychology and a lie. I'll say it's a lie. It's a lie. Because it's not true, but fela, they are criminals, ubona di tronko di tletse all over the world, this thing has been engineered. Gore we must start believing or no, or not fail. Like for example, when you look at the word, if you take a tabular form, ungwale on the left hand side, ungwale the the positives are black, the negatives are black. You couple the positive, the connotational meanings are white, the denotational meaning, and then let's are black. You'll find white is clean, it's pure, and then black it's evil, it's dirty, and that's why we are called blacks. And that's why people frown upon us. And background ekufanang ka yona, it's that it's a whole into abotaki in the economy and crime. And what you see, what's happening today, look at Matlanga Commission, it has a history. And what's unfair is that they look at state capture, but state capture, if we can be honest with ourselves, before South Africa became a union, mangamla kurela economy, and go fell about bagidi kwaka, by the way. The Britons and the Boers ba fitla iba kurela territory ka bana ba utlwana ba gaine a qaleng union mara go vota mangamla fela so le plaka ba qala ANC. So this thing must be understood, or land was stolen, minerals were stolen, and it's a fact. And to our protector mangamla, in terms of saying, we need economic restitution as much as there's land restitution. What about economic restitution? And somebody like, yeah, le busy lwanela gore in the past no le kae wena. No, but it needs to be addressed because Maburi Hawari on Sfader's land. You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking, Horkoso way to anaje, Likori Township Kaufela. How work a land and secure fast tracker from colonization and stuff, ki a Group Areas Act. But what was Wako Fire Town, Basu Soweto. How in your knowledge, Butotine will think Koso Fire Town, the way Bonanga Tenko Soweto go Tembisa and stuff.
No, they were prone to arts. You know, there were people then, which you don't see as much now. People then were, being into dancing, into music, and it was a happy place. That's why I would call it tobacco. And even if you can look at the type of people that used to stay off Sophiatown, Sophiatown bred a different breed. It bred ladies, it bred gentlemen, how they used to dress. They were very adamant in how in wanting to be equal to white people. They wanted to dress the part. They didn't want anything to being associated with hooliganism or Afghanistan until of course they were then that thing, or these people are rivaling us and trying to measure up to us, and they do not want to accept the fact that they are lower than us. That is why then they had to work on the mind, because they could see that to be able to, they needed to break the mind. Get out to think less of themselves, by treating them like animals, putting them in a place, baba displace, baba close, baba cancel the properties, because of course they could own land in Sophiatown, and then they took them to smaller little. In fact, Soweto was more like a concentration camp, where they would be like prisoners and kept there and monitored, and they would lower the standard of living so much that the black people would be
but lose a self-dignity, maybe.
But lose a self-dignity, to have to resort to desperate measures. And then it's a divide and rule. The ethnic groups, and then close to each other, so that you are literally smelling your neighbor's dinner when they have cooking wors on that particular day, so that really that monanyana about creating or so close together, you are in each other's business. I understand.
Oh, so mono tswara.
Ana privacy, of course. They don't know what the neighbors ate yesterday. They don't know what pair of shoes the neighbor's kid has got recently. They don't, because they live, there's enough room to be themselves. The space. But all of the so rebe more king communal, but seeing communal, the intention was not to re utlwane ka communal bo be le hore re be re pitlahane wa understand.
So idea ya hore ya Jozi e tswa ra gore the fact that they were moved from Jozi, so go spinwa go gutlela ko Jozi.
Of course, yes. And that obana kabane obana haba le into it was by design obviously hore makeishene abe away from Jozi. Alexander ba dutse mo le kankana wa utlwisisa. Alexander antla like deleting ngabla di ba batle mo ne di sa ba batle mo. So ba kore Soweto ha le Soweto na ba batla vele di exit le di entrance gore ba kgone ba le monitor ba re monitor because I also come from the bar monitor every movement ya rona, access e renang le yona, level ya exposure, everything, education gore ba monitor what we get to consume gore re shebelang mo TV re jang re bonang, access ya everything e re etsang ne gore na ba batla go monitor closely, or we mustn't get to see more than we should, and we shouldn't get to be inspired in any other direction. Ke mobu o le nje o rate wa di mine dumps, and then re dula closely together. Ha ona difata, ha ona vegetation da ke land e se yong fertile for o hodise o hole le jwang hantle wa thola ntho. So it was all by design hore mo plekeng e re leng ho yona e re sharp psychologically.
Oh, that's why, like, other things, ukileng on China, no kore, the way Babylon, as unocho, it's a concentration camp. Or the way so it Babylon good thing, it's that the day, but no batlo pagamela mangamla. Jozi nearly fair, Baba Tlosa go Sophia Town, Baba Vera Kosuit, nearly fair Jozo, even if one day Bakaba Mavugela Bus, Balo target about Bago Jozi. Nitlo banganda nako ene mangamla natlo tsoga I prepare by the time ba fitla ko Jozi ba tlo phaka mangamla sale ready a gono dila le bona. So that's why baba movie ba be far, and the whole point ya gutlela ko Jozi, it's that hantle even after the ANC took over, the idea was to move black people from the concentration camps, being the townships, to Jozi, because how look at Jozi, you are nearer to Spani, you are nearer to I need to spend a new year on more transport. Like in modern day South Africa, people spend a lot of money going to work. And hanke buspana, imagine Sophia Town. Ika mo Westbury. I don't know if a lot of people know Sophia Town in El
Triumph.
Triumph, yes. Yeah. Triumph. Kamo head office at MPD. That was Sophia Town. And now vast street fella ka ke Hendrik Potriter Kenya ko Jozi. So it was nearer to Jozi. So but papa movela fair. Go ba Kenya ko Soweto ga tshwantse e Jozi. And that's why idea ya lo spina but ba re Jozi, because ke kontho tse ntle di leng ko teng, and when we want good things we should go there di thole ko Jozi.
And you know, with taba ya Jozi nje, just access to things, you know, what you see,
a seat at that economic,
what you get to see. Wabana now that but to Savale less, you know, I was wondering but you know, and I realized we haven't improved not once, and it's so disheartening, and it's actually heartbreaking. But Bakasi, it's gotten worse post 94. But Bakasi bafella who on marcation now, and they identify the marcation as their home state, as the places of origin. They've developed a belonging. The Bopene Plus, but Kasi Rona, fella. Oh, but how fit location in Babata or Phillies or access all la they've even got slogans. Mina mumkenza show ya teti zola some shows afe in the fire here sugama paper kalama cardboard. We've got this loyalty to a place that's not good for us. Now when we've got a loyalty to a place that's not good for us, it is to our own detriment. And it's sad because but ba fitleng now ma foreign afitla thola bat ba ikwaletse ko makeisheneng banale a sense of belonging and a patriotism eleng gore e fella makeisheneng a bona batho ma foreigner abanka bo Haniju banka bo Turfentine banka bo report, because ba thola batho ba ka se abayo, they are not there. But it's a place where people are sleeping. People are complacent. But Bakasi Batla, Jozi, Basebete these menial jobs and then get onto the train. I was so surprised. I just want to feel what it's like to use the train. I've never used the train, Metro Rail. So I got onto the train. And then it's like, there's my people. I've been wondering where you are. So it ends. Where have you, like, I've been wondering, how where are my people? Get onto the Shosholoza train. That's where the people are. They're still getting. Wabona nako tsele tsa bona bo ntwena tsa apartheid ba batho ba ne ba already a rona le mathama rena ba hlakana di training. Ba be ba qala ho jola di training ba. That's how we became. That's
But
why we're
sorry,
here
ke go training.
people are still living that life. I couldn't believe it. But but sardines inside trains, post 94. And people, good people, black South Africans, get this thing about humility, but people that are very humble, people that are so respectful, but that's only the training. And those people, for people that come from somewhere else, babona makwala, babona bat balamileng is. Ba bona batho ba despondent ba give upileng ba bona batho ba stupid antlantle ba sa boning the bigger picture, because these guys come here and they see into a world of opportunity. Ba bona so much opportunity, and then they're grabbing, they're looting. Whereas the South Africans don't see that, because they're so complacent. That's why Karata Botleva Mfetu, I believe they are key, they will be key. They are key in this, in us getting things to reclaim what is ours, because Botleva have got the mindset that we need already.
But let me ask you this, Uboka Botleva. What do you mean? Maybe let's define it, especially from context. Your last, criticize and to your Pimville na kuba Shaile heist. How Botleva? What do you mean?
Obana na kirata mindset ya rebelling against the system. So the mindset ya Botleva ke o scalatela system fully. Wa frustana kore dingamla tshwantse re dispossess. So bona machita etsang a nka ka ndlovu ya ngena a nka ka sthunya. And I believe the mindset is already there.
So into your heist, Lusha roof, economic dispossession. Would you say that?
Well, look, yes and no, because obana ya di heist, ne? Ya di heist, it's aggressive crime. It's a predominantly communicationing, and I believe it is toxic for our environment. It's I think that we can do better. There are better solutions.
Like?
There are better alternatives. Wabana machita so some now move it motabenya di tender. It was good. It was a good start. O spinner up pen le pen. Mandela la ibu antu where okay, now it's time. Ula bua clear Mandela struggle se feel as a armed struggle. So ba machita it's an armed struggle. I get it's a sense no kana ko. No kina ko spinner ka pen le pen. Ma I'll tell her identifier ntwena taba okay ene ba paqa late machita gale di kwana di thepa di ja nyuga di tender and doing stupid things and not really building and not really doing things to benefit or to
empower our communities.
Yeah, for the greater good basically. So what level le bona bites are the same thing. So bona
No, but maybe let me ask you, Kontonya Botleva, ne? Machita, and I'm not promoting crime, but this is what we see. But via balospina batola chelete, and after by tola, bese by but no bjwala by it's like how do you then say, like a wiki is kolong, obana nakile observe something kukas. One thing in the panda, but Bahema bota, ba looks machabobona, by seven of machabona koskela. I'm not promoting crime in any form or any way, but I'm saying we've seen Batuba by self-improver because the system didn't. And even today, something that's interesting. How go tronkong, and I'm told, but papaya, but the degree, baliko tronkong. And Nana, the victims, let's say Babulaya, God forbid, Iltamalao, Habal Bulaya, Alsana Predwina Kuntlung, Mutobula Tamalao ya tronkong, after tronkong wabala. We now look at Montle, Ausa Hono Skulu. And I think there's a discord there, just there. How do we reconcile our society in order to ensure that the victims of especially violent crimes, they find expression in the one being empowered so that they can find a seat at the economic table and participate ba kgone ho ja grant, because e perpetuator into violence le eng, and we're not dealing the economic dispossession in the right way. And I'll ask you, ne, maybe even for the benefits of people that are listening and watching this, to say, if ntwana tsa go ka se golang kapa motho o tswang tronkong o bona re bua ka rehabilitation, I'll first speak about batho ba tswang tronkong, and then I'll come go ba sokang ba ya tronkong. Motho have done their time, a sa batlo etsa crime, o batlo phela grand, that's why it's correctional services, corrective measures. Motho o batlo qala business kapa iqadile, how does that person survive? So that there's a term called recidivism, meaning repeated offender. How do we then stop repeated offenders and glorify into a crime, but ensure that Machita can get into business? And Babang Batlare, I need capital. Like, how do we answer these things to say we can't be business leaders and economic champions, but are not the solution? Okay, what do you say to that person?
No, absolutely. We need to come up with structures. We need to come. You see, one thing that the white government did and did properly, by the way, it's a system that worked for them as a collective. By virtue of being white, you were privileged. Not because we are many, it won't be as easy for us to implement the same system. But you see other smaller communities like the Indian communities and the Asian communities, through unity, they are able to support one another in business. We've got the mindset that we can't all be entrepreneurs, and I've always asked myself why. Like, why can we not all do business? And I really do not have the solution to the answer, the answer to the question. But through unity, I've started my organization, Restore Ubuntu Foundation, with absolutely nothing, starting from the ground up with whatever it is that I have, just to unify, people. From where I am, start a movement where we can consciously share information, share opportunities, share knowledge, and continuously build one another. And I think the one main thing that we're gonna have to do is to unite, like how we beat the system. Then apartheid, people mobilized, people united, and then after that, and that's why you see a weaker society, and we were infiltrated the way we were. But we're gonna have to bring back unity, get together, and start to support one another. We need to fight this thing by getting organized. Politics, first of all, we cannot watch whilst the leadership is doing what they're doing. We need to hold them ransom. We cannot sit and say, no, here's Matlanga Commission, and leave it and watch like spectators. We need to be involved. Who are these people that are running account? Who are they? What are they doing? What are they all about? And really do our bit. But I think a lot of South Africans are complacent, and we're just too relaxed when things are happening around us. Read bystanders, read bridesmaids, like you said earlier. Whereas we need to get involved with the little that we have, or without anything, but just that a law of numbers, the unity. We can make a change. I believe we can. So to answer your question, when you say a guy coming out of into a prison should be able to approach Mahrutman Renale Group, Restore Ubuntu Foundation, where I'm a registered NPO, and then the guy comes and approaches us, and then we look at this young man as a collective. We are an NPO, and we say, okay, with our resources, how do we then assist this young man? We get this young man trained in terms of sales and marketing, which is my skill, but because that's a skill that you won't go hungry without, if you have. So sales and marketing, be able to transact, wheel and deal, which is a thing no longer a lot of people by a short
My Indians do that basically.
Yeah, exactly. They sell. And then you go into and they hire black people. So you go and then you identify a product that you can acquire. We give you a small start, and we secure a stake in that particular business, or we have whatever interest that we have. Our support our that $5,000, whatever it is that we're stocking. Whether it's if it's manufacturing, we assist with the manufacturing process. If it's stocking up goods, we stock up goods, and then we put up a stall and you start selling. And or if it's like, again, the field, my field of expertise, insurance, we get you the proper insurance training, and if you need to get some kind of small short-term qualification, we get that arranged for you, and then you start selling insurance after that, which is, I think, also another industry that we need to participate more in, because how many insurance companies do you know that are black owned? Hardly. But what you see is, you see a lot of funeral parlors that are coming out of the townships that are have got white
Underwriters.
white underwriters, white interest, white money. Yeah, but the at the end of the day, the consumer, the end user of those products is Kibat Babans, and it's a multi-billion rand industry. So rather than all mutually be able to underwriting these funeral insurance, we need to reclaim that kind of industry so that it works for us.
Second question. I know we're not glorifying or celebrating but what's on Drongong and stuff, but if they're not considered, they can also become a threat to society. If una no tlaba bea ko khoneng fela. Now, for a young person of fetsang school or doing qualification, there's a lot of young people that just finished school ka 2025. Where do they go? I mean, you speak to a lot of young people that see entrepreneurship, upanda, there's a lot of things that are in their eyes to say, if kitala company, where do I go? But I need money to start a company. Babang bam jute, I said Joes. We say that, I think you and I agree that we discard that. To say, you know what, you shouldn't participate in crime because the unintended consequences might be dire, and most instances are dire. The very few people you see them but succeed, we cannot celebrate that because it's few people. So we are saying ntwana ko Kasi, A1 ko Alexander, ko Khayelitsha, ko East London, ko Mahikeng, ko Limpopo, ko Seshego, ko Mpumalanga, ko Free State, ko Northern Cape, who really wants to start. And he's saying, fetso school, where do I go? Because I believe even the institutions that we have, and strongly so, National Empowerment Fund, your IDC, I think they're not aggressive enough to set black people up for success. They're not.
It's not working.
No, it's not working. And the question is, what are we doing in the economy to ensure that that changes? Like, if we're saying it's the government of the people, yes, we must help ourselves. Like Sankomota Abina, but in that thing, how do you ensure that government also assists in meeting you? Possibly if not halfway, like maybe do 70%, government does 30%, but do most so that the government can assist you. And I think we should also try and invite more people and not act like we have all the solutions. Because running a country and claiming that you have all the solutions, it's not true. You see, people in leadership that have been voted, it seems, Mandela Are, it always seems impossible until it's done. But it's also looks easy when you're outside until you're inside. That's why Oliver Tambo once again said that waging a revolution, it's easy, but running government, it's difficult because people have expectations going. And it's this thing as black people that I believe we need to address, like especially Machita Mukasi. How do we move Batu to start dreaming Kasi by Joes? Because they were not meant for the township. They were not meant for the townships.
Yeah.
How do we put up a mindset Kasi ring Joes so that all the nice things are for us and they were for us, and start participating, firstly getting a seat at the table, be able to make decisions, and start participating, no worker willing and dealing. You're selling this, you are buying that. Jona, ikasiri bat ko Somalia, ko Pakistan, all these countries, but rekisamo, and then rona by the spectators. What are we? I think each and every one of us today should ask ourselves to say, what are we doing to become participants and to get a seat at the table? I don't have an answer because we're all responsible for our own lives. What are we doing in order to ensure that we find a seat? And I'll say this, maybe Kowena, to say, I mean, the Ubuntu Foundation, I love what you guys are doing. And what can be done in order to assist Ubuntu Foundation, in order to assist other young people to ensure that there's skills development, there's empowerment, and there's positive mindset, and give them and let at least people have hope. So, as Ubuntu Foundation, how would you want to be assisted in order to be able to assist young people that are looking for hope? And I'll say young people because they constitute majority of our population and majority of the unemployed. I mean, that's about 62% of the young people that are unemployed. So as Ubuntu Foundation, what help would you want to, or maybe even support, not help, what support and empowerment would you want, an enhancement in order to be able to grow the circle and make it bigger?
You know, because we're an NPO, we're obviously not generating money. So seed capital would definitely be a good place to start, because we obviously need to get ourselves out there, you know, in terms of advertising, getting our word out there to reach the masses. And the one thing that I believe, okay, like for instance, have you ever seen an Indian person making use of a black service willingly?
No, they don't. No, they don't.
They don't.
Forget
Right?
it. Yeah, they don't.
And neither do Asians.
Sure.
Very seldomly whites will do that. So, Rona Bafet, one thing we need to do, we need to be conscious around our spend. And we need to support one another as black people. We need to bring back mindset ya king. Akireki ho mutho mong kantle lo ba heso. Pele, by putting ourselves first, then perhaps other people will start to recognize us and respect us. Because Rona re pay pele. But mutho mo never be pele o ke serious when I say ke serious. So Rona nje tshwantse re be Rona ba leng hore re tsa ba le ba re bona hore, and like we're intentional. We want what is ours. So in our organization, one thing right now that I'm finding that I struggle with is it's very difficult to start without any sort of financial seed capital to really start scaling from the ground up. So that's the one thing that I'm looking to acquire now through private sector. And maybe
we'll find it somewhere. Don't worry, we'll find it somewhere.
Maybe even government. Thanks. I appreciate that. I know you're very resourceful in that respect. I trust you. And then of course it will be support. Machida coming on board. I'm trying to get my OT, especially my OT. Streetwise, that's my OT out, because the mindset is already in the right place. They don't want to work for white monopoly capital. I don't want to work for white monopoly capital. I worked for IDC. I worked for Alexander Forbes. I worked for Auto in General. I worked for big corporates for a very long time. I mean, I've got a 20-page CV working for these major corporates, you know, and I made my name in those spaces. And it didn't make sense to me because it's not mine. I don't identify with it. It literally belongs to my adversary. It doesn't make sense to me. They've even wanted at some stage to do the whole window dressing kanna banketse a PEE senior manager or whatever, director, even perhaps at a later stage, and that, you know, that whole window dressing thing that they do. And that's how a lot of people we say that they're successful, but it's the kind of success that speaks to you being less black, being less, to identify less with your own people. For Rona Babang, it's not even something we had to think about, or maybe I can't accommodate, but naturally, it just didn't make sense for me to aspire towards becoming a partner in a white firm that has got a white name that belongs to a white man, and have to move and then eventually live in a white suburb and try to blend in there, take my children to white schools so that they can speak English and live a white lifestyle and be like a white person, and everything. We should it speaks to moving away from being black and being white. Then it's success. Why can't we have a success that is as authentically black as possible? And be successful like how the monarchs used to be back in times where, traditional times, African times, where Batu Babantu would be very rich but be black.
So I'll ask you this: you're weird, especially kuma batho ba o latelang, batho who believe that you have influence. What is your view in terms of voting?
that is another very important aspect. We need to reclaim our position with respect to that and hold our political leaders accountable. And we actually have to hold them ransom. And the way we're going to have to do that, unfortunately, is to make sure that the current ruling party reba punish hard, and give younger new players a chance. I mean, your political acumen and your level of thinking, you need a seat in these sort of spaces. We need younger, fresher minds in those spaces, because those guys are not thinking like that. They're old regime, they're product of the old system. So if anything is going to change, we need change.
So you're saying Machita Kokasi, young people out there must go and vote?
We must participate, not vote. I think we need to get in, and we need to form our political parties, younger, newer political parties, and because the ones that we have are not an alternative, they are not working. So we need to get involved. Rona kabo rona. If we don't get involved by starting new ones, let's get involved by becoming part of these existing ones and be the change that we want to see in the world.
Sibusiso Hlabangani, gotta thank you for your time. That has been a seat at the table with Sibusiso Hlabangani, out here Kokasi, and who's discouraging the mentality of crime to say that you are the change and the solution you've been looking for. The change and the hero that you're looking for, it's inside of you. And all the solutions that you want, if you can sit down and really think deep and look deep, they are within you. We really, really need to find a seat at the table. Till next time.